Traditionally, Snack City is supplied with a smorgasbord of savory samplings, but today we're expanding into the dessert district with these gluten-free chocolate chip cookie breads. They look like cookies but are pastry-like in texture, and they are a more macro-friendly way for me to curb my sweet tooth. Each one has about 53 calories, and they're awesome to grab from the freezer as a sweet treat following a meal. They will be enjoyed by all, but especially for my fellow gluten-free amigos who miss that satisfaction of a sweet, sweet hit of wheat. Maybe these can help fill that void. Here's how you make them. First ingredient we will need is some oats. Oats are gluten-free, but sometimes they are processed in places that also deal with wheat. So if the gluten-free aspect of this recipe is why you are here, make sure you find one that is labeled gluten-free. I get this one at Costco for a little over $1 a pound. We need to turn these oats into a flour, and while you can just buy that at the store, it's 1/5 of the cost to just throw the oats in the blender yourself and pulverize them down into a powder. I try to always keep some in a container in my pantry so I don't have to get the blender out anytime I need some flour. And now that we have our flour, let's get started with the dry ingredients. Place a large bowl over a scale and add in 2 2/3 cups or 320 grams of oat flour, about 1 teaspoon or 4 grams of salt, and 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of baking soda. Give it a quick mix to stir everything together and break up any clumps in the oat flour. Now we move on to the wet ingredients. Place another bowl onto the scale and crack in 4 eggs. Then you're going to beat them with a whisk or a fork until the yolks are integrated with the whites. Next comes 2 2/3 cups or 600 grams of 3.5% full-fat Greek yogurt. Non-fat will do just fine if you want to save a bit on the calories, but obviously the extra fat is nice on the tongue. Follow the yogurt with 3 tablespoons or 40 grams of sugar. And for all of you who think refined sugar is the Antichrist, you can use a non-nutritive sweetener like monk fruit, Splenda, or stevia, but only use half the amount because it's sweeter. So 20 grams. Maple syrup also gets the job done as a 1-to-1 substitution. Next to the bowl is 4 teaspoons or 16 grams of vanilla extract and a half of a cup or 120 grams of chocolate chips. Stir the wet ingredients together so that the yogurt, eggs, and the sugar get distributed. Once it's ready, you can combine the wet and dry ingredients together to form the dough. Give the bowl a strong, steady mix so everything can come together as one. Once it's mixed evenly, allow the dough to sit on the counter for about 5 minutes so that the oats can properly hydrate. While you are waiting, get out 1 or 2 large sheet trays and spray them with oil to prevent any sticking. To divide out the batter, you'll need a 1 ounce or 30 gram cookie scoop. Scoop the batter out on the sheet pans, giving each piece 1 to 2 inches of space to allow for some spread. Fill up as many pans as necessary to fit all of your batter. I made 53 total pieces from this recipe and it took 2 trays. You can obviously make a smaller batch if you're not trying to store any in the freezer for later. Trying to divide all this batter out without a cookie scoop is possible, but it's going to be very annoying, so if you don't have one, I would recommend getting one. Once it's all divided up, measure out 1/4 of a cup or 60 grams more of chocolate chips and top each piece with 2 or 3 of them. The sugar and the richness of the chocolate chips provides a good amount of sweetness in this recipe. I like to reserve the small amount to put on top so that every piece is ensured to have at least 2 chocolate chips. As I had mentioned before, these are more pastry-like than cookie-like, and they're not overly heavy on sweetness. So if you want these to be extra chocolatey, add in an additional 60 grams of chocolate chips. These get baked at 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius for 15 to 20 minutes. With only 1 tray in the oven at a time, you're looking more towards the 15-minute side, and if you did 2 like I did, it might take up to 20 minutes. So just keep an eye on things, and if they get too brown, you pull them out. Once they're out of the oven, allow them to sit on the counter and cool for a few minutes, then you can take a spatula and release them from the pan. Each piece of this gluten-free chocolate chip cookie bread has about 53 calories, 7.3 grams of carbs, 2.4 grams of protein, and 1.6 grams of fat. They are best eaten warm, either fresh out of the oven or after a little vacation to the microwave. They are soft and sweet, and 3 or 4 of these after dinner can surely hit the spot. Even without any gluten, they still have a chewiness and a bit of stretchiness that is hard to find in normally crumbly and dry gluten-free bread. And with how simple and easy these are to make, they are a perfect solution for any of you gluten-free eaters who miss the texture of traditional wheat-based bread. But look, you're not going to be able to make sandwich bread out of this batter, so let's not get carried away, but for this small bite, it does help get the job done. If you made extra to put in the freezer, the next step is to flash freeze them so that they freeze solid. Doing this allows the chocolate chips to solidify and the bread to freeze through so that if you later go on to vacuum seal these, you don't get chocolate smeared everywhere, or they just get crumpled together and frozen stuck in a ball. I just place the sheet tray into my freezer uncovered until they're frozen solid, and then after a couple of hours, I'll transfer them over into whatever I'll be storing them in. To be honest, I don't need to be vacuum sealing these because I'm surely going to be eating through them within a few days due to my immense lack of self-control. The freezer burn won't even have time to think about getting in. But get off my back, I don't want to hear it. This is better than me eating 2 bags of Costco treats a week, so it's a win. Once they're all packed up and ready to go, off to the freezer they will travel. To reheat these from the freezer, I will put a few on a plate and microwave them for about 15 to 30 seconds or until they are warm. The more on the plate, the longer it will take and vice versa. Pair them with a big glass of milk while you munch, and this is almost what dreams are made of, but not quite because they still aren't cookies. With the dessert district of Snack City now thriving and well, it helps me eat a few percentage points better. The fiber from the oats, the bit of protein from the Greek yogurt, and the lower sugar in these little guys keeps me and my sweet tooth a bit more on the nutritious side of the continuum. Without them, I would certainly hammer away at some ice cream or find some sugary dessert to get my grimy fat fingers on. It is impossible for me to not have a sweet little treat after each meal. It's written in my DNA. I had it tested, and if I don't, I'll die. So this gluten-free chocolate chip cookie bread is perfect for me, and I'm sure you'll love it too. The full recipe with all the ingredients and instructions listed is published on my website, and the link to that is down below in the description. Go check it out and give these a try. Later, skaters.